Good morning and welcome. My name is Marcus. I'm the vicar at Ascension, and it's fantastic to have you with us wherever you've tuned in from. And I wonder, have you been affected by the humble brag recently? The humble brag, if you've not heard of it, is a boast which is disguised as a humble statement. Let me give you a couple of examples from the online world. The first is Stephen Fry. He wrote this on Twitter. He said, "Oh dear, don't know what to do at the airport. Huge crowds, but I'll miss my plane if I stop and do photos. Oh dear, don't want to disappoint." Or the British television presenter Kat Deely, who wrote online, "So I have to go to both Emmy Awards. 2 dresses. Ah!" Or the Hollywood actor Jared Leto stating, "I just won the GQ Style Award in Germany. Obviously they made a mistake. I wonder how long it'll take until they come back and get it off me." Humble brag. Or someone writing on Facebook this week, they said this: "I have 12 GCSEs, 4 A-levels and a first-class degree from the University of Oxford in Oriental Studies. Yet can I do Year 2 7-year-old maths? Can I heck? Please, Boris, send them back to school." You read them and you think, wow, not only are they humble, but they're amazing as well. That's the humble brag. And it's so easy to look at everyone else and think, wow, they're amazing. Look how well they're doing, and they're humble with it. Oh my goodness. What on earth am I up to? What am I achieving in this lockdown? What's my purpose? I'm useless. I'm a slug. And comparison kills calling. And one of the things we can't live without is a sense of calling, a sense of purpose. Our need for purpose is absolutely pivotal. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps in World War II, he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, and he said this: "Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by a lack of meaning and purpose." So what is our meaning, our purpose, our calling? What is it? Well, our primary calling is to love God and to love our neighbour. That's our primary calling on all of us. And our Ascension mission statement is to spread out with the love of God to Balham and beyond, to do that. But we do, each of us, have a unique calling. Every single one of us has a unique calling. You are bespoke, you are unique, you are imago Dei, made in the image of God, with your unique gifts, experiences and failures. And God wants to use all of them. He doesn't want to use someone else's. For you, he wants you to use yours, because you are uniquely qualified for the unique role God has placed on your life in your unique home right now. And I believe today God wants to reconnect us with our calling. Today is about having our calling reinstated, just like Peter in the passage. Jesus reinstates Peter in this passage in his calling. He says to Peter, "Feed my sheep." But he'd already called Peter 3 years before. On the Lake of Galilee, he said, "Come, and I will make you a fisher of people." And here he is now reinstating Peter, because Peter had forgotten his calling, his unique calling. He'd gone back to fishing fish and not for people. He'd gone back to his place of comfort instead of his place of calling. And what's got in the way of our initial callings? Pat Allerton, I interviewed last week, the Portobello priest, the portable priest. He had a calling on his life at the age of 18 to preach to many. And for the last few years, he's not sure how that was going to happen. And here he is now in the lockdown, preaching to thousands online. He's remembered his calling. And we too need to go back to the whispers, the truth of our youth, and remember what God put on our heart way back then, before everything else got in the way. Because maybe our calling has been stolen by cock-ups, crises, complacency or comparison. I don't know what. For Peter, his calling had been stolen by a cock-up. You see, Peter, as we know, had let Jesus down. 3 times he had denied Jesus. Just before Jesus died on a cross, he was there around the charcoal fire with a servant girl, and he denied Jesus 3 times. And in this passage, Jesus reinstates his calling 3 times as well. Peter denied him, and Jesus says, feed my sheep. Peter denied him, he said, feed my sheep. Peter denied him, he says, Peter, feed my sheep. He's saying, I can take your failure, Peter, and transform it. You see, Jesus believes in us even when we've stopped believing in ourselves and our ability to do anything for him. God can use our failures and our frailties for our futures. And in our passage, Jesus recommissions Peter for his calling. And one of the things I love is that the same word used for a charcoal fire in this passage is exactly the same Greek word used only in one other place in the whole gospel. And it's when Peter denies Jesus, the same word is used only twice. And Jesus is saying, I can transform your failure into your calling for your future. And I believe God wants to reinstate each one of us this morning. He wants to recommission us for the next leg of the journey. Do not let your calling be stolen. But not only that, don't let your calling be stolen by comparison. The first thing Peter does the moment he has received this wonderful calling to feed the sheep, he sees John. He sees John, and Peter turns to Jesus and he says, Lord, what about him? In verse 21 he says, Lord, what about him? The moment Peter has been given his calling, he's been reinstated and commissioned, he wants to compare his calling to John. Maybe John had been humble bragging and winding Peter up. I don't know. Maybe John has been saying, it's so hard, Peter being the disciple who Jesus loves. I have to spend so much time with him, Peter. It's, the Messiah and me, we're like this. The wonderful poet from Patmos, the one who wrote the beautiful John's Gospel. The one who can even run faster than Peter to the empty tomb. And maybe Peter's comparing himself. He says, what about him? And I love the Lord's response. The Lord says, what's that to you? What's that to you? You must follow me. He says, bog off, it's none of your business. Your business, Peter, is to follow me. Because comparison kills calling. You've got to keep your eyes focused on me, Peter. The easiest way not to compare is not to say don't compare. If I say to you, don't think of a pink elephant, right now you're probably thinking of a pink elephant. The best way not to compare is to shift our focus. I remember when I was learning to drive, and my driving instructor helped me. I was trying to get through 2 bollards, and I was looking at both of them so I wouldn't run into them. And he said, drive towards the gap. What you drive towards is what you look at, and what you look at is what you drive towards. So keep looking at Jesus. Keep looking at him for your calling. You would have thought that Peter may have learnt this when he was walking on water towards Jesus previously. And it was only when he looked to left and to right that he started to fall down. But when he looked at Jesus, all was well. So don't compare. Jesus has a unique calling for each one of us at this time. And we're to look at him and focus on him so that we can hear that and be reinstated in that. And if you're here for the first time this morning, I want you to know that Jesus has a unique calling for you this morning. And one of the biggest tragedies, I think, is to miss out on what is uniquely yours. We're to be ourselves because everybody else is taken. We're to focus on what is for us, what God has for us. Say this morning, forget the humble bragging, forget the comparisons. Let's get back to our calling. Let's let Jesus reinstate us, because it's exciting, it's creative, it's unique, and it's bespoke to each one of us. Let's not be distracted. Let's allow our failures to be used for our future. And let's focus our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith.